CFOs are strategizing to take control of expenses and rein in unnecessary spending amid the economic downturn brought by COVID-19. Hence, every cost is question deals renegotiated. So there is a need to relook at expense management from a new lens. To address this very topic, I bring you a power-packed panel discussion next. So the next session will discuss the new challenges of expense management, cash flow management, and rationalizing the decision making and leading the business by understanding the new rules of money. To moderate this conversation, we have with us Amol Dete, editor, ETCFO. Take it ahead.
Thank you for tuning into ETCFO Leadership Summit. As Ranika said, my name is Amol Dete, and I'm sure you're enjoying the panel that has already happened since morning. And thank you so much for tuning into this panel as well. I must say that this session is extremely important if you are a CFO, or if you are a financial executive, or if you are a financial professional, because we are going to talk about managing finances in the uncertain world. Why we chose this topic is because in last couple of months, or specifically in last 2 to 3 months, whenever I'm talking to any CFO, or whenever my team is talking to any CFO, the 2-3 important points that are coming out are specifically about cash flow management, how are managing the budget, zero budgeting programs, and more importantly, how to manage the cost. So all in one circle. Most of the CFOs are talking only about these things. So we decided that let's have a important session on this particular topic. And I'm glad to share with you that I have the best minds from the industry. I'm extremely excited to introduce you to all the speakers for this panel on managing finances in the uncertain world. My first speaker for this panel is Samir Shah, ED and CFO, HDFC Ergos General Insurance. Samir, welcome on the show.
Thank you, and happy to be on the show and happy to be part of it, CFO Leadership Summit.
Great, thank you, Samir.
Thank you.
For that note, I have another speaker, Tarun Rustagi, the CFO of Canara HSBC Oriental Bank of Commerce and Life Insurance. Tarun, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Amol, and good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are watching this. I'm happy to be part of this panel. So let's have an engaging discussion.
Sure, Tarun, let's have that. I have another speaker, Manish Gangwal, the CFO of Gulf Oil Lubricants India. Manish, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Amol, and happy to be part of this panel, which is very, very important topic, as we all know.
Thank you. My next speaker is Anand Agrawal, the CFO of V-Mart. Anand, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Amol, and look forward to a very engaging session with you today.
Thank you. And my last and a very important speaker is Mankiran Chauhan, Managing Director, India Subcontinent, SAP Concur. Mankiran, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Amol. Thank you for having us. Looking forward to it.
Great. So I think we are good to go, and I have many questions. But to begin with, I have a very, very important questions to each one of you. And the question is, I will start with you, Samir. Under the current environments, how are CFOs managing their finances? When I speak about, you can give a reference of cash flow management, expense management, because these are the very, very crucial topics. So how are you, managing these finances specifically at your company?
Well, finance is an important element of any business. And in these times, when each and every element of VUCA has actually got activated, and nobody would have imagined, at any point in time for any planning exercise that, this is going to happen and let's plan for it. I think if someone says that I had planned for it, then I think, we need to get him on the show immediately. And I'm sure that, everyone is facing the same issue as to, what needs to be done. And I think what we have realized, over the last, 3 to 4 months since the outbreak of the pandemic is that, cash is the only thing that one needs to look at. And as the old adage goes, cash is king, has really come about in this age. And I would say that conserving cash and managing cash flows is in the forefront of any finance professional as to, because, that would keep the businesses afloat in the coming times. And cash flow is the most important element that we are also managing. Next important thing that I'm managing to manage cash flows is the expense part. And each and every expense element of the business has to be closely monitored and looked at, so closely that we avoid some kind of a wasteful expenditure. Thank you, Amol, and I think
Okay.
this will set the tone for the discussion. I think.
Right. In fact, I have one more important quote when we want to set the tone because the topic is very important. And this quote is by Benjamin Franklin, who said that beware of little expenses. A small leak can sink a great ship. You know, so that's so. Since we spoke about general insurance, let's quickly move to life insurance. We are happy to have two speakers from the insurance sector. Tarun, what's your views?
Yeah, so what Sameer just mentioned, I think what has changed for all of us as a finance professional is a planning cycle. It used to be 6 month forecasting, 9 months, 12 months. Now there is no such 6 months, 9 months. Every week you are planning something because you don't know what will be the situation. So it has become so dynamic that you cannot predict what's going to happen next month, right? The number of cases, how the economy will behave. And other thing, I agree on the cash is king side, but what we want as insurance companies or other not to think in that direction, because if they start preserving cash, they will not invest in our policies. That's on the lighter side. But what is happening is life insurance is slightly a longer term business. And for us, paying a premium is very important, which is a renewal premium. And what we have seen and observed is last few months, there have been some deferment of premium. And that's why the cash preservation comes into picture, because you're not getting a cash inflow, which you expected, but your expenses are similar to that, right? So that is why the cash preservance, cash flow management has become very, very important. And obviously, everyone is doing that in these days is deferring all your, basically non-relevant expenses. So as an organization, we are also thinking in that direction. I think the expenses management has become more and more important. Planning, budgeting, forecasting, that has taken a very, very, different shape altogether. And along with that, the cash flow management is becoming more and more important these days. So really, these are the things to be focused by everyone.
Yeah, important point, Tarun. Yes, the planning cycle has changed, and in fact, we have been in what you can say segregated or evaluated now by the zones, whether we are in a red or orange or a green zone or a containment zone, right? So moving ahead, I would like to bring Anand here. Anand, what are your views? How are you managing the things?
I think these are very challenging times for everybody. But for me, it has really been going back to the basics, really the ultra basics, managing cash and managing for cash. Cash is the only reality, and therefore liquidity is topmost priority.
Right.
Expenses really come later, which is managing for cash. If I have visibility on cash, I can plan my expenses, how much to do or how much to reduce, and how much to pay vendors and other commitments. No doubt, cost reduction is also important, but as my fellow panelists also said, cash is king, and there is no replacement for cash. Actually honest in assessing the cash situation to know where cash will come from week on week and where it will go is really very important in understanding the imbalances and then finding out the mitigations.
Right.
It's really very similar in our personal lives also. If we know that this is the reduced salary that we are going to get, then we will manage our future expenses accordingly. And it's not really the other way around. You don't really plan the expenses and then plan your salary. It's first you plan the cash and then you plan your expenses. So in this, context, I would also say from an organization point of view, it is also very important to know your inflows are going to come from where and how. So how your customers' behavior is going to change, because that is where the cash is going to come from. If your customer really going to survive? Most people, I would say, are really focusing on only cost reduction. We should definitely do that, but I think the top priority has to be given to managing liquidity.
Very well said, Anand. I think I'm getting some good dopes, but I think I should add some more fire to it. So let's move to oil. And let me tweak a question a bit. Maybe I will get some fire here. So Manish, I will tweak the question. Obviously, it's the same question, but if I could put it in a different way, words, obviously these are the uncertain times. So how are you looking at your expense management and how drastically, things have changed specifically for you?
we would all appreciate that these environments are actually difficult for everybody. So it has impacted every industry, but that we must also, understand that the degree of impact is different for different industries. So for few it is like a very good period where they are having difficulty supplying the goods or meeting the demand. For some, it is very, very difficult from the other side.
Right.
So we as a 50-65% of our business is like an FMCG.
Right.
So for us, it's been a completely different time to we are retail oriented. So lockdown happened and we had to, the revenue inflows were suddenly near zero in some of the months. But then things started opening up also very quickly.
Yes.
So when the lockdown started lifting, the movement in May and then in June was, at a much faster. We had to revive our business operations and plant and capacities ramp up very, very quickly. So we have to be in that mode where things can turn very quickly. And hence our focus was always that as a fast growing company, we were spending a lot of money on brand and manpower and in building capacities. But we took a pause in these 3 months to think where now we have to head in future. So we use this time to actually look at the future more while not cutting on all the long-term objectives, but we address the short-term objectives. So that's where I think FMCG or near FMCG type of businesses like ours have been able to do. Of course, cash management came in at the forefront, like everybody is saying. So that became the paramount. We as a FMCG, and again near FMCG, working capital is very important. So managing receivables and then collections dried up. But so working capital and keeping the liquidity was again a second point of priority. But we are focused on long term also. So that is something which we are not overlooking at this moment, that we have to keep sight on long term as well.
Very well said, Anand, and very, very important point. Yes, the long term is a very important part. We also have Mankiran here specifically from SAP Concur, and she may talk about solutions perspective. So Mankiran, my question to you is, when listening to the CFO's part, what have been your observations here? How have things changed? You must be talking to a lot of CFOs. So how have you seen changing the market?
I think all of the above is really, the best way to summarize it. But at Concur, we speak to CFOs daily, right? So I've really enjoyed the last 90, 100 days because the perspectives and the reality for every CFO and every organization has been so different, right? Manish just spoke about the long term and the future balance, and this really interesting quote that I think is so relevant for us: never waste a crisis. And the changes that you are then able to make in terms of policies or in terms of future outlook. Sometimes in our organizations we've done things just because that's how it has been done, right? And a lot of forward-looking organizations are now looking at using this as a reset button, saying, how do I capitalize on this opportunity to relook at what my reality should be? We all know, the world is now going to be defined by this pre-COVID and post-COVID world, right? Like there is the pre-COVID era, this is how we did things, and post-COVID era, this is how we did things. So, in looking towards the next decade or the next 2 decades of how business should be, what are the low-hanging opportunities, transformation in the business opportunities, where providing, you spoke about real-time planning, real-time budgeting, and that's going to only happen when you have the data, intelligence, visibility into your, into the data in the organization. So as I see it, I think we're certainly seeing a lot of cash, liquidity, conversations, but very soon I'm also seeing that a lot of conversations pivoting to this opportunity that we are now presented to relook at what that future should be. So redefining the future in that sense.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for the first round of question. And now I'm going to shift the gears and let's make it more engaging with some specific questions. So I will come to you, Samir, and my question is specifically about the zero budgeting. So, could you just tell me, is zero budgeting the new norm? And what kind of solutions are you looking at to manage your finances? Are you also thinking of automation, advanced digital, adoption? How are you looking at all these things?
Okay. Thank you, Amol. I think your question is, fully packed, I think. And I think we need whole day to discuss these questions. But yes, I will try to somewhat, make it into a compact answer. One most important thing, as I also said in my opening remarks, that this is a kind of situation which nobody had envisaged, or no kind of a BCP would have planned for this, and people had to think new ways to do kind of a business continuity, new ways to in fact manage the revenues, new ways to manage the expenses. The revenues have undergone change in terms of the mix, in terms of the timings of the flows. The expenses have also changed the nature, what kind of expenses have become fixed, what kind of expenses have become variable. So in fact, there is a complete, I would say, change in the way the business dynamics have taken shape. And that has called for a complete new way of looking at the business planning exercise. And as in fact, what you asked is the zero-based budgeting. I think earlier it was just confined to some kind of industries and some kind of businesses. But now I think in this COVID era, and which came in at a point in time when all the planning exercise was underway. In fact, last financial year was just coming to an end. And in fact, I can say for ourselves, at least, we were at very advanced stage of completing a planning exercise. And we were on the verge of taking it to our board that this is what our plan is for the next financial year. And then this happened, and
Right.
we had to in fact reset our thinking cap, and that's how we went back, and in fact we did exactly what you said in the form of zero-based budgeting, and we gave a new thought to for what kind of revenues we would be getting and what kind of mix of business that would be there in the post-COVID or during COVID, because the kind of uncertainty that we are having in terms of COVID, I don't know as to when do we say post-COVID will come.
Right.
And in fact we would continuously be in the COVID era only. So that is on the revenue side. On the expense side, yes, in fact that has taken quite a bit of a thinking from our side as to
Right.
what are the cost elements that we need to consider them as fixed and which we cannot avoid, and which are the ones that we can really consider them as variable and try to optimize them in this era and to the times to come. I don't think we need COVID era to find solutions for finance. And for finance person, managing finance is kind of a passion, and it doesn't need a COVID era to find new ways to manage finance. So we had always been trying to rationalize the cost, look at
Right.
it in such a way that yes, the business is not stifled, the growth of business is not stifled. But yes, this has made us think slightly more differently, and the cash flow planning has come into fore as to why do we need to keep certain kind of surpluses in some kind of accounts or whatever. So that has really made us think twice about the cash flow planning. And yes, expense management was always there, and
Right.
that yes, but along with that, what has come more to it is that how do one manage finances remotely? Okay.
Yes.
And with the people also not working together. And we, in fact, I would in fact maybe take a liberty to say on behalf of all my CFOs out here that we always believe in touch and feel kind of a thing. Till that time we will not be able to get the feel of things. But yes, we have learned new ways of managing it, and that is where our technology friends will come to our help. And for that matter, I would say that we had started working on kind of a solutions to help finances also to be managed with the help of some kind of a robotic processes. And we had initiated some processes in the finance area.
Right.
So along with that, to manage costs, we also have taken steps to introduce some kind of a bots in our customer servicing, customer onboarding, and also in our claims processes for that matter. So for our motor business, we have started, I would say, something called as remote service. And even our even claim surveyors can do surveys remotely and they need not come to our office. They can just upload their surveys and the claim assessment would be done within less than a day.
Right.
So that is one of the claim services that we have been looking at. Other thing that we have been looking at is onboarding services for our customers. So onboarding also, we have tried to bring in apps and bots for our customers to be onboarded remotely. So that is from the customer side. So I would say not only the customers but also the backend functions like our policy bookings. We have started using some kind of bots which really help us to speed up the things and customer services also. And that has made us kind of confident in this era that yes, we can use some kind of bots also to service our customers. In addition to that, I think I can go on and on for kind of applications that we have come out, and in fact they have become more useful in this era, when we are not seeing each other and not meeting each other, and even our customers can use some of our bots for getting services from the company. So I think the digital transformation is inevitable, and we will have to adopt to this kind of digital solutions for customer service, for backend solutions, and also some kind of governance applications also.
True.
I think
Samir, yes, you took some time, but it was a detailed answer, and I think you answered in fact, you answered all my potential questions. So I don't know whether I have left with any questions for you now.
So that's what I said. It was a full day kind of a question, which I can go on, and maybe we could have split into morning, afternoon, and evening.
Yes, absolutely. Taken that point, maybe we can do it in next session or something specifically. But 2-3 important points that you mentioned about not only about the solution but also the work from anywhere and the new things that we're doing, and also the travel costs and all. So let me bring Anand here and take the conversation forward with the similar question. So Anand, the question that I have for you now is specifically about when working from home is new normal, and companies are saving travel costs. On the other hand, there are cash flow challenges, and every cost is now questioned. Obviously travel was one of the important costs. If you have examined the expenses at such times, how are you evaluating the wasteful expenses? Where have you decreased? How has it increased? What is your, and where do you want to invest? So how do you look at all these things, decreased proportion, increased proportion of investments and wasteful expenses?
2-3 points here, Amol. Number one, I think while Mankiran was speaking, I just had this thought about pre-COVID and post-COVID. So in my mind, the only thing flashed really was, while you have BC and AD, so before Christ and after death. So I think we will reprice in this era as before COVID and after vaccine. So okay. But coming back to your question, I think COVID has really been a black elephant event. It's not really a black swan. The widespread impact was really known for at least 6 months, and most of us really ignored it, at least for the first 2-3 months. At least I did. I think we started our work around COVID only end of February. And but despite the late start, I must say that we've really been reasonably able to manage our liquidity and also reduce a lot of wasteful expenditure. At a general level, I think expenses differ from industry to industry, but survival definitely comes first for everybody. So survive first and then thrive. But the same thing as a going concern, and with an eye on the future, there will always be some bets that you would want not to compromise upon. So for instance, investments into digital or new product developments, etc. There are organizations which also have been benefited by COVID, and for them, cost impacts are very different. Like example, healthcare, pharma, IT, infrastructure, etc. And for them, expense management is also critical, but it is more around cost productivity and building up market share, rather than, let's say cost reduction for everybody, at least, sitting here. Therefore, the definition of wasteful expenditure will also vary by industry. For us, being in retail, which has really been one of the hardest hit by COVID, we are doing really everything we can to relook at cost. Anything which is not a must to do right now is avoidable or can be deferred. But everything really has a relevance from a cost productivity perspective. cost reduction is not really only for the sake of reduction. We are trying to gain profitable market share. And if for that, we need to spend something extra to gain new locations or gain, new customers, we will, not fall shy from that. We are a value retailer, and frugality really is in our blood. Compared to most of our peers, our costs have always been amongst the lowest in the industry. And in fact, that is the only way we could really provide value for money to our customers.
Right.
However, I must say COVID has again forced us to rethink how more cost conscious can we become? How much more can we adapt? How much more can we change? And with empathy, we are relooking at everything from scratch, and each and every cost item, big or small, is getting reevaluated by different layers in the organization to assess its future usefulness and therefore continuity or deferral or even stoppage. In particular, I would say that we have significantly lowered our costs on rents through negotiations with our landlords, because that is one of our biggest costs. Our manpower through some graded pay cuts, stopping all kind of advertising, reducing any and all kind of discretionary spends. At an average, I think we have been able to bring down our fixed cost by almost 40% in the last 3 months.
Quite interesting.
And I really would not have thought that possible 3 months back. I think this is how things and life, makes you learn.
Right.
In these difficult times, as an outlier, I think one area where expenses have increased is CSR, which is corporate social responsibility areas. We encouraged each one of our 270 stores across the country to do community service in the period of lockdown, and therefore built a lot of goodwill with the extended society and the customers. The other big area where our investments have really increased is digital enablement and omni-channel. We really started this journey almost a year back, and with an eye on the next 5 years, and we are not holding back any investments in this space despite COVID. In fact, this has really reaffirmed our own faith and belief that digital is the way to go, and we really need to increase our investments and not curtail them.
Right.
Then I think data is the new oil, and no future strategy can be complete without data-driven insights and analytics.
Right.
RPA, or robotic process automation, we are building up a lot of capability and capacity around RPA. We've been taking it very, very seriously for the last 6 months and plan to increase its usage significantly over the next few months. And again, this is not only because of COVID, but COVID has just, fast forwarded its implementation. And this is again, not only in the finance domain, but I think we are trying to roll it out across larger parts of the business, whether it is planning or supply chain or even warehousing. So while we've been reducing cost on rentals, manpower, and other discretionary spends, we are significantly, increasing our capacity and capability in mainly digital areas and creating capabilities for the future. So we're definitely, looking at the long term, creating profitable growth paths and creating capacity so that we are much more ready for the future.
Sounds really good, Anand. Moving ahead, Tarun, I will bring you here, and if you could tell me your strategy, considering you're dealing with many agents, brokers and distributors. How are you managing your cost there? How are you actually, trying to put everyone on nose and trying to say that, okay, this is what I want and this is what I would like to do?
What has happened during this era or this phase is, some of the solutions which we were thinking, all of it, like Samir mentioned that, all these solutions we were thinking and we were working on it, it has speed up the implementation of that. So for example, so insurance is being sold generally, face-to-face interaction. Online insurance is definitely there, but it is a very small proportion of that. And because of this, this COVID, it forced all of us to think in a different way and different direction, right? So all the agents, etc., who were there on the fields, whether if you don't enable them digitally, they will not be able to interact because the habits have changed. Right? The customer would not like to meet, have a face-to-face meeting with people. They will be okay if you have a video conferencing or share the solutions through some other route, but they will be hesitant in terms of, meeting you. So that has actually changed the way we used to sell. So what we started doing more and more is making our sales agents or sales force digitally enabled. Making all the products available on the tabs. The tab adoption has increased significantly across industry. The people have started moving towards from the physical form to the digital form. Another big problem which our industry faces, faced during this period is medical test, because when you are issuing a policy, you have to go for the medical test. Now, that has also significantly changed over the last few months, because the more and more insurance companies started doing tele-MER, which is online understanding of the customer health and taking calls on that. So risk-taking capabilities have also increased.
Right.
No, it's not only the finance side, but I think holistically what has happened during this period is the organizational strategy has changed. The product strategy has changed. You have to make all your products and available online. Your distribution has to adapt that strategy. Basically, they have to understand how they can sell insurance or any other product through digital means. And then at the same time, various other things have changed. Your processing, your new business, your issuance of policies, your communication. I don't think in this era anyone would like to receive a letter from a company and look at the statement, etc. They would be happy to receive it on mail. So the adaptation and everything has changed. So everyone is saying, we also have changed all the processes, moved to RPAs, moved to AI in terms of issuance, underwriting, etc. And this is really helping us. And that's actually, I go back to one of the panelists mentioned that looking for the future rather than short term. I think and let's look at the brighter side of this. This particular event has forced us to think something very, very fast and differently. Like we all were doing BCP testing, but this was a mother of BCP, right? Everyone straight away jumped to the working from home. And starting from 80% to 90%, now everyone has tasted that, it's 100% working perfectly fine for everyone. And that has impacted the rental footprint and everything. So there are things happening, things are coming, and everyone is thinking. And similarly, we are also thinking in this direction. We are changing every day. There's a significant investment happening on the marketing. And one more thing which has changed is, from the media of marketing has changed. It is more digital now, because people are now hooked up. And I was speaking to one of the CFO of the media and media company or entertainment company. In fact, their business has gone up, and they were worried that once the lockdown is over, what will happen to their business? Because every now people are more hooked up and looking at a TV and other things. But once the lockdown is over, their business will have an impact. So look at the dynamics and different perspective everyone is having. So I think that's how we are also working upon, and it's similar. I think the technology is playing a significant part in terms of taking us to the next level post-COVID era.
Right, Tarun, in fact, you spoke about media. So I don't mind to give my own anecdote here that, we are obviously a digital company. Economic Times has invested a lot and very, very aggressive on the digital front, and the website that I'm heading and you're part of this summit is ETCFO, has been, remarkably growing in last 3 months because people are, looking for a genuine content, and now at least they have some slightly time to go through the articles and watch the interviews. So many CFOs, in fact, approached us for this summit as well, and it's doing really good. Okay, so since everybody is talking about the speed of digital innovation and the digital transformation, I will bring here, Mankiran. And Mankiran, I would like you to, tell me 2 things. The first thing is, many speakers already told about RPA, bots and the data adoption. So what do you think about all these things that the CFOs are adopting at this? And my second question to you is, how can CFOs get the maximum impact, from the expense management technology solutions? What kind of ROI can they expect?
Great question, Amol. And I think all 3 people before have spoken about RPA. So I feel almost compelled to answer the take that RPA question. And like we see from an expense perspective, AI, machine learning, RPA becomes so much so relevant in the conversations today, right? One of my favorite examples to take is that every company has a different policy. All of you on this panel will have a different expense policy, what is allowed, or what is permissible versus what's not permissible. And one example that I always give that I know catches attention is the Concur solution as an example, as an ability to see whether it's a virgin mojito or a mojito and flag it off whether it was approved or not approved, right? Like just a simple example, but that's where the machine learning or the AI algorithms really come into play. Or the fact that human eye can have an error, and when a machine's auditing expenses, the ability for the machine to process expenses and have that efficiency level of audit is a lot superior. And the idea there is to say, if you could leverage the technology into releasing your finance function for doing more strategic initiatives, what would all of you spend your time on, or what would all your people spend time on? More strategic priorities, looking at these new business problems or initiatives that might really have a top line impact. So we're seeing companies really take on that intelligent enterprise view or intelligent finance view, or I think Samir or one of you spoke about the finance transformation, and digital plays a really crucial there. But when we look at finance transformation, we're seeing the need is really based on three capabilities. It's about visibility, it's about focus, and it's about agility. And most companies are already on that journey. I think all of you have spoken about RPA, so most of you are already on that journey. But these technologies like machine learning, analytics, AI really are accelerating the progress.
Right.
And by visibility, I mean it's the ability to collect and connect the data that was typically previously siloed. And therefore you can see the unseen patterns, you can see the trends, you can get the insight from the data to make actionable opportunities. And with focus, it's really about making sure you understand where you're spending. So when you see where you're spending, then you can do something about it, right? What is not visible is not actionable. And then finally, it's agility, especially in this post-COVID world or the pre-COVID, the era that we're now in. Businesses need to respond so much faster to changes. So the agility is really needed in everything you do, whether it's process or whether it's scale. Or I think Anand, you spoke about the scale of these. You're going to look this as a business opportunity to scale, right? And therefore, technology also has to. None of us planned for this event, and technology therefore will have to really scale and have an agility as well. But taking the second part of the question, Amol, in terms of the ROI that we see from technology solutions, let me take it from a two different lens. Let me take it from a lens of an employee and lens of a business, because I think, just in the morning, I was speaking to another CFO, and nearly 70% of that workforce is millennials. So the employee angle is a very relevant angle, and I'm sure the different conversation, but so therefore the employee angle is a very relevant angle to keep in mind. So if I look at it from a user perspective, the automated, integrated, intelligent expense solution really helps them focus on improving their employee productivity, right? So they're not having to, I don't know about you all, but I've certainly remembered days where I've sat with all the paper expenses sitting on the, because the finance is chasing me to get this submitted. You've sat down with, and you've dedicated the day to clear your expenses, right? Like there's nothing else. You've moved everything because you're spending time doing this. So if our employees could get that time back, that's productivity. And, and I think it's being more appreciated in this reality. Like I'd rather get the 30 minutes back or 60 minutes back to have a coffee with my husband or sit down with my children or do whatever, right? But even in a regular workspace as well, getting the time back is really such an important aspect of, how we do processes. If you think about from an employee perspective, if I complain less, I'm going to be more happy, more happy about my workspace, right? And we find that one of the major areas or major irritants when we speak to employees is my expenses didn't get processed on time, it got rejected, it is HR didn't submit it, finance is always, always wants the physical proof, I have to scan it. All of it is really such an irritant, right? Like it's, so if you could remove that, people would get that time back to do something more productive. So as an employee, right? But let's look at it from a business perspective as well. If you had as a business greater adherence to expense policies and you could drive more compliance, you will have less legal liability. In fact, one of our surveys that we did said, a 15% decrease in time spent processing expenses and 16% decrease in time spent processing invoices is what technology can, what the Concur technology can help you do. When you speak to FP&A people, we actually find that 20%, they actually say that 20% of the expenses that get submitted are usually actually are personal expenses. Whether it's intentional or non-intentional, they're usually non-work related. So some of it's entertainment or a meal or a commuting expense or office supplies. A lot of it was personal that should not have never been filed. And it's not always about fraud. In some cases, it is about fraud. And we find that companies typically lose 5% of revenue on a yearly basis on fraud, whether they know it or not. But sometimes it's just unintentional or lack of awareness, or I didn't know I wasn't allowed to order the most expensive wine or the most expensive dish on my menu, and I had a limit that I needed to follow. Right, so proactive looking at the policies. So I'm a fundamental believer that ROI is just like beauty. It lies in the eye of the beholder. What ROI for one will be very different than for the next. So for some companies, the ROI is the risk of reputational damage based on fraud. For someone, it might just be, I want to be on the great place to work, and therefore having an employee-friendly process is really going to help me do it. So for someone, it might be the scale and the agility that is needed in the business as we go global or as we go open new markets. But let me take you two quick examples. For General Mills, one of our customer, they saved 1.4 million through process efficiencies and policy compliance on a 3-year period. Whereas Electrolux, for Electrolux, it was really about the VAT recovery. There are lots of international people traveling, and they went from 30,000 euros to 400,000 euros of recovery using the system. So again, I think it's really dependent on where your scenario is and what the reality is. But there is definite ROI in the digital solutions to be done. And I think finance is now at a point where digital is not just a buzzword for finance to deal with, right? It's become critical for us to address that.
True, Mankiran, ROI is different for every organization, every sector.
I just want to add a point there. I fully agree with Mankiran. I think she's very, very well put together.
Sure.
And I would just, want to concur on her.
Right.
In my view, ROI for any digitization needs to be evaluated more from a long-term perspective, and through really objectively assessing the alternatives, the cost, and the efficiency matrix. I think justification for any new solution cannot be made only on the basis of ROI. But it must also pass the test of relevance, acceptability, adoption, and service. So while digitization is required and everybody accepts it, but I will not really get into a new project only because I want to get automated. So it really has to serve a purpose, and that purpose has to be very relevant, and it has to be acceptable to the masses. And by masses, I mean the real users. So just because the CEO wants a solution, I think if you impose that solution, that's 100% chance that it is going to fail. So acceptability and adoption are much bigger investments rather than purchasing a solution only.
Yeah, just want to add, but this tussle will never go away. Finance guy will continue to ask for ROI. I think that's relevant, and Anand, you supported that. The relevance is more important here. And there will be always some tangible and non-tangible benefits which you can have. But as we all are finance people, we know that everything has a dollar value attached to it. If you save time, it has to converge into some kind of efficiency gain, and then reduction on manpower, effort. Like, Mankiran, you mentioned that if the solution, if employees getting 1 hour extra, whether it can lead into the increase in productivity or increase in something, knowledge enhancement, etc. But I think there is a linkages, and this debate will continue to happen.
Exactly. Exactly. And
maybe I will also maybe add one or two cents out here. Is that any kind of an I would say automation cost, or any IT initiative, or any such process improvement which are brought about will definitely have immediate costs, And as I said earlier, also, this is one part of the element of expenses which will go up during the COVID era. But what is important is that, this over a period of time will definitely give more returns, and more so in terms of the governance aspect and the transparency aspect. I think, that is more relevant, because this is going to make the processes much more transparent, and it can give results, in over a long period of time. So this, I would say, is the investment which one cannot cancel or defer. But yes, this is the inevitable that one have to take out.
Right.
If allow me, I will, respond to the finance question that Tarun raised, right? Like it has
Sure,
to.
Mankiran, quickly.
It has to. So I think the 1.4 million didn't catch attention, but what we found from a lot of our customers was really that the FP&A people, the finance accounting team, were getting about 10 hours a week back based on productivity gain on automating a process like expense, right? So that what you do with that, whether it's manpower reduction, whether it's redeployment, or how that gets quantified, is so different in every organization. I'm sure if I was to speak to the four CFOs on the call, all of you will have a different priority in how you would use that time back, right?
True.
But yeah, absolutely agree. ROI.
Yes.
ROI is just like beauty, different for
So
every.
thanks, Mankiran. I have Manish.
So ROI, Amol, I would just add here very small example.
Oh, I wanted to come to you only, Manish. Go ahead. Yes.
No, my own organization example. So we had a new IT head, last year, and the moment he joined, within 3 months, he said that we have to move our servers out to a professional data center. We had our own server rooms and all. So he said, and then I said, oh, what is the need? We have the space, we have, why to pay extra to these servers? But now in this last 3 months, we have realized that how important it was, to move that to a professional center. So our offices are closed. If something would have happened to the server, we would not have been in a position to go and rectify. IT team would have found it difficult. So it suddenly proved as a boon, in these times. Last 3 years, we have been replacing all the PCs with laptops for all the employees, irrespective of the grade of the employee. So we said that, okay, we will not take any more PCs. We will always go for the laptop whenever there is a replacement. Now, suddenly 95% of the employees within our organization were on laptop when COVID happened. So the work from home, switch over to work from home was so smooth that we didn't realize actually that we are not working from office and we are working from home. So all these things, while at the time would have said that ROI was not happening for these investments, but now in these times of crisis, it is like a boon. So these are the things we have to look at, when we look at IT spends or digitization or all those futuristic projects, I would say.
So, in fact, you gave me a point, Manish, and in fact, I was coming to you on the last part of the question. In fact, I thought now, I should have, went back and started my conversation with Mankiran, because she encouraged everyone to talk, and, everyone just jumped on to the answers. So, Manish, I have a last question to you, since you're running out of time, didn't realize how the time has been, running. What is your plan for the future proofing your expenses? You just spoke about the future, because that is one thing which everybody wants to know now. Yes, we are dealing with this time. We dealt with a different time. What next? So how are you thinking about future proofing your expenses?
So Amol, in fact, in our organization, to look at future, we have looked back.
Right.
So when COVID started, and we went back 2 years ago, that we went for each line item, what our costs were 2 years ago in the organization. While we were growing and we were spending more, whether all those expenses which we have done or increased expenses in the last 2 years, are they really required for future growth? So we are categorizing each expense head basis last 2 years ago, what was it?
Right.
So that we can build a resilience in the organization. Our break-even point should be lower, because today it is COVID. The businesses environment has become so dynamic, something or other will keep disrupting businesses.
Right.
At different points in time. So the organization capability to bring down the break-even to a lower level, they have to look at each expense item, and we did the same. And to do that, what we have done is, one is to impose, as Anand was saying, imposing doesn't always work. So we immediately formed crack teams.
Right.
So we onboarded the respective functional guys, and one HR guy and one top management guy to lead the process or facilitate the process, and made small crack teams for each, or subheads of the expense item. And then they themselves are coming up with suggestions. as to what are the variabilization portion which we can do in each expense item, so that the organization is ready for future.
Right.
So the onboarding of people getting, just to give another example, our sales team would always love to travel and go to the market event for taking orders.
True.
Now they themselves have come in on an online app. They have developed with the sales IT team an online app for order taking.
Right.
So all our order processing has suddenly moved online, which was not thought of even 6 months ago.
Right.
So when you onboard the concerned functions and all, it becomes more easy for the organization to adopt and face these kind of challenges. So we are looking at each expense head, but with onboarding of the respective functions, so that the transformation or transition is easy.
Right, Manish, very well said. In fact, I think that now everybody in the company must be taking CFOs very seriously. Earlier, when CFOs used to speak about let's reduce the cost, nobody would have thought about it, or nobody would have agreed to that fact. But I think now everybody is agreeing with the CFO. Yeah, let's work on that. Thank you so much for sharing your remarkable insights. Thank you, Samir. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Tarun. Thank you, Manish. Thank you, Mankiran. It was wonderful, listening to you. Again, thank you so much for sharing remarkable insights and joining to ETCFO Leadership Summit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
It was nice to be here.
And thank you so much for watching ETCFO Leadership Summit. Stay tuned and keep sharing your feedback, your comments on hashtag ETCFO on any social media platform. Thank you so much for watching ETCFO Leadership Summit. Stay tuned.
Thank you everyone for sharing your perspective. Managing finance and expense is the way forward for the industry to emerge stronger during the coronavirus outbreak. So remember to explore, learn, and progress.